Tonight's story is a quiet one. We'll stand beside a stone gate at the edge of an old city, watching a tired watchman open and close the same wooden doors as years, and rumors drift past him like fog. No battles, no heroes, just lantern light on wet cobblestones, a heavy bar of wood, and the small, silent choices that never make it into any history book. So now, soften your screen, turn off the lights, settle into your pillow, and let the Watchman of the Closed Gate begin. Before the bells, before the first window groans open on its rusted hinges, before smoke begins to write its low gray sentences above the roofs, there is the gate, a dark rectangle cut into the wall, a mouth that has not yet decided whether it will swallow or release. The watchman arrives while the sky is still undecided between night and morning. His boots know every uneven stone on the climb up to the tower. His hand finds the same old splinter on the wooden door, the same cool iron ring. He does not have to look. The habits of his body have become a map that requires no ink. Inside the gatehouse, the air is thick with old fire and damp wool. The lantern he left, hanging the night before, is only a warm ghost now. Its wick a curled black thread. He touches the base of it, registering the faint heat, as if measuring how long the city has been alone without his eyes on it. Then he pulls the bar that lifts the gate's smaller postern from its sleep and steps beneath the arch, out toward the world beyond the wall. The stone under the gate is worn into a shallow, shining dip, where carts and feet have rubbed away its resistance. He pauses there, in the hollow, polished by countless lives. Mist from the river has crept up the slope and gathered itself in the archway, pooling like breath in a cupped hand. It clings to his eyelashes, his beard, the cuffs of his sleeves. The world on the other side is a softened drawing, a road, a line of bare trees, the blurred suggestion of distant fields. He rests his palm flat against one of the gate's wooden leaves. The planks are grooved with the memory of old violence, sword strikes, the points of pikes, perhaps even teeth of winter ice. Beneath the scars, the wood is solid, heavy, obedient. With a small test of pressure, he feels the entire weight respond, a slow, reluctant flex, like muscle under old skin. This is his first task, always, to make sure the gate still listens. He walks its breadth in measured steps, checking the iron bands, the hinges, the small door within the larger door through which most of the day's life will move. His fingers skim over metal slick with dew, pause at the bolts where rust has bitten a little deeper. He notes it all without hurry. Time moves differently here, at the edge of the city. A moment late or early, and a traitor curses the delay. A moment late or early, and an army arrives before anyone is ready. His work exists in those thin slices. The sky lifts itself a shade lighter. Somewhere behind him, in the sleeping city, a cock crows once and then again, as if startled by its own insistence. The watchman adjusts his belt, straightens his tunic, and takes his place beside the small window where road and traveler first meet his eye. The first to come, as they often are the traders who love dawn because it does not yet ask questions. Their carts creak under sacks of grain, bolts of rough cloth, a crate that leaks the faint smell of fish. Wheels complain softly as they cross the last stretch of road. One man raises a hand, more out of habit than greeting, and the watchman lifts his in return. The gesture is worn and familiar as the stones. He asks for papers, examines seals, notes dates. Ink has turned some handwriting into delicate ghosts, but he has learned to read intention in how a hand trembles or presses too hard. Names pass his ears and lodge somewhere just behind his eyes. Joseph, with the missing tooth and the loud laugh. Marta, who hides a coin in the hem of her shawl. The new one, with the scar that pulls his mouth into a permanent half-smile. He does not need to remember them, and yet he does. Each time he steps aside and lets the cart pass, the gate rearranges itself. Closed, open, closed. A chest expanding and contracting. The city breathes through him. By mid-morning, the road hums like a plucked string. Pilgrims appear in small clusters, carrying saints and sins in equal, invisible weight. Their clothes are dusty, their rosaries polished by worry and repetition. Some glance up at the walls with hopeful reverence, others with the hard, measuring gaze of those who have seen too many walls and too many gates. The watchman searches their faces, not for threats, as the orders proclaim, but for hesitation. There is always a moment between step and step when a traveler decides whether to present themselves as they are or as they wish to be seen. It shows in a shift of the shoulders, in a breath held a heartbeat too long, in the way a hand grips the handle of a bundle. The watchman has grown fluent in this language of almost movements. A woman with a scarf tied tightly under her chin hands over a letter that allows her entry to visit a sick cousin. The ink is fresh, the seal unbroken, the wording correct. Everything is in order. Still, he notices that she stands a little sideways, angling her body as if to shield something just beyond his line of sight. He shifts his position a fraction and catches, over her shoulder, the small face of a child in the wagon behind her, eyes large, fingers wrapped around a wooden toy carved in the rough shape of a horse. He looks back at the woman. Her mouth is firm, unsmiling. Her eyes are already braced against refusal. "It is good your cousin will not be alone," he says simply, and hands the letter back. The words are nothing more than a bridge for the moment to walk over. He writes her name in the ledger with the same neat hand as all the others. The record will show that she arrived. It will say nothing of the child's grip on the toy or the brief uncoiling of fear at the corners of her eyes. As the sun climbs, shadows under the archway shrink and sharpen. The watchman steps in and out of them as he works, his body passing from cool to mild warmth like a clock hand moving through the hours. He stamps dates, checks seals, lifts the bar of the small door without thinking about the weight. His mind drifts, not into distraction, but into a wider awareness. He hears the clatter of hooves mixed with the softer brush of sandals, the mutter of different accents rubbing against one another like stones in a riverbed. A student in a worn, ink-stained cloak passes through with a satchel of books that smells of dried leather and the dust of older arguments. Behind him, a farmer drives a small herd of pigs whose snouts glisten, their bodies restless, their squeals filling the archway with sudden, almost comical life. The pigs hesitate at the threshold, then burst forward in a panicked rush, as if afraid that the stone might close its mouth on them. The farmer shouts and waves his arms, though there is no real anger in it. The watchman merely lifts his feet, letting the animals surge around him, a brief river of bristles and smell. By noon, the light has turned the walls a softer, warmer shade, highlighting each irregular stone. The city behind the gate has found its rhythm. Market stalls open, shutters thrown back, distant bells marking the hours like pins stuck in cloth. The watchman eats a simple meal in the shade just inside the arch, bread hardened by the morning's work, a wedge of cheese that sweats in the warmth, a small onion whose sharp scent lingers on his fingers long afterward. He chews slowly, eyes still on the road. Even when not actively admitting anyone, he watches. A gate is not only a place, it is a posture. He has become, over the years, an embodied question. Who are you? Why here? Why now? Sometimes the answer is in what people carry. A traveling tinker balances his livelihood on his back. Pots, pans, a small bundle of tools. A musician has a case that he opens briefly while the watchman checks his papers, revealing an instrument polished to a sheen that speaks of reverence. The watchman's gaze lingers a moment longer than necessary, drawn to the strings that will sing in some warm tavern later, far from the chill of stone and iron. Other times, the answer is in what they do not carry. A man arrives with empty hands and a coat too thin for the season. His boots are good leather, but scuffed and splitting at the seams, as if purchased long ago in better times and walked into ruin. His eyes skip past the watchman to the city beyond, scanning for someone that remains unnamed. His story stays folded inside him. The watchman does not unfold it. He checks the token the man offers, a small disc stamped with the emblem of a nearby monastery, and nods him through. The ledger receives another line of neat script. The page fills, a grid of certainty. Behind each word, a cloud of things unsaid. In the heat of early afternoon, traffic thins. The road stretches empty for longer intervals, the distance between approaching figures widening like pauses in a conversation. The watchman takes this time to walk the length of the wall near his gate, running his hand along the parapet where moss has begun to knit its soft green into the cracks. The city on one side is a tight cluster of roofs and chimneys. The land on the other is a broad open palm. He has spent his life with 1 foot in each. From up here, the people who come and go are small, moving points of color, their individual burdens invisible. Down below, at the threshold, their weight becomes specific again. Names, faces, small gestures. The climb to the wall lets him loosen his mind, stretch it out over the landscape. The return to the gate draws it back into focus. Toward evening, the light begins its long, slow tilting. Shadows in the archway grow bolder, reaching in from the road, venturing further into the city's mouth. The watchman lights his lantern before he strictly needs it, more out of respect for the coming dark than in service to the present light. The flame blooms, then steadies, painting the wood around it with a modest radiance. With the lantern lit, everything passing under the gate becomes a little more theatrical. Faces are carved in relief, cheekbones sharper, eyes deeper, lines of wear etched in honest clarity. The watchman sees weariness there, and hope, and the blank mask of those who have taught themselves not to give anything away. A young man returns from somewhere beyond the fields, his clothes stained, his shoulders slope-bent. He carries a small bundle wrapped in cloth, held with more care than its size suggests. As he passes, the edge of the cloth lifts in the lantern's breath, and the watchman glimpses the curls of a child's hair, the stillness of sleep or something heavier. He looks up, expecting to meet the young man's eyes, but they are fixed on the stones ahead, unseeing. The watchman says nothing. There are moments when words are not only useless but intrusive. He steps aside, and the arch closes around the figure like an exhale. The last sellers drift in with their empty baskets. A few late travelers hurry, their footsteps quick with the desire not to be locked out. The city's sound thickens and then slowly dims. Shutters closing, voices dropping, a final burst of laughter from somewhere too distant to identify. The watchman lowers the bar on the smaller door with a practiced, gentle finality. It does not slam. It settles. There are protocols for nights, how many times to patrol, when to open for emergencies, how to respond to messengers with certain seals. He follows them, as he always has. But his mind walks backward through the day, through the faces, the papers, the tremors of breath he has witnessed. They layer themselves quietly over the old memories of other days, other gates, other choices. He does not dwell on them exactly. They simply stand behind him like patient figures in an unseen painting. Later, when the lantern has burned lower and the city's noise has shrunk to the faintest murmur, he steps once more into the arch. The mist has returned, thicker now, pooling at his ankles. Beyond the gate, the road is nothing but a narrow, gray idea. He listens. Somewhere far off, a dog barks once. Somewhere closer, a shutter rattles in its sleep. The gate, pressed into its frame, seems to be listening with him. He stands there a while, feeling the weight of the wood and iron resting obediently under his care, feeling, too, the great, indifferent weight of the wall stretching away on either side. To any record, this will be an ordinary day. No charges, no alarms, no special entries. A blankness, neatly inked. He turns back toward the gatehouse, the lantern's dim circle of light moving with him like a small private sun. In the official ledger, the day will be closed with a simple line, but in the quiet space just behind his ribs, he knows it has already become another unseen stitch in the city's hidden seam. The fog begins as an afterthought. At first, it is only a faint thickening of the air beyond the arch, a blurring of the line where road meets fields, as if the world were being smudged gently by an unseen thumb. The watchman notices it the way he notices the slow dimming of the lantern's wick or the quiet ache rising in his knees when the damp comes early. It is another layer, another veil between him and what approaches. Autumn leans in without asking. The river, which in summer simply existed under the city like a long, cool breath, now exhales in clouds that climb the slopes and wrap themselves around the walls. From his post, the watchman watches the fog claim distances. Landmarks retreat. First the stand of trees at the bend of the road, then the faint black line of the far hedge, then even the low rise that usually catches the last of the sun. What remains is a short, illuminated tunnel between the lantern and the first few meters of the world. It tightens the stage on which his work unfolds. The carts and boots and weary feet still come, but now they emerge from whiteness as if conjured from milk. Wheels creak before he sees their owners. Voices arrive shorn of bodies, disembodied notes floating ahead of the figures that eventually grow out of the gray. Even the sound of hooves is muted, swallowed and softened, like thoughts not yet spoken aloud. In this narrowed space, his attention sharpens. He begins to recognize people from the way the fog parts around them. Traders with their habitual haste cut sharper paths, their movements carving quick channels through the damp air. Pilgrims shuffle, leaving lingering wisps in their wake, as if the fog itself wishes to follow them. Soldiers are straighter strokes, rigid, purposeful, though even their outlines seem to fray a little now. Uniforms darker islands in a formless sea. One evening, as the lantern's circle of light stutters in a damp breeze, a figure appears at the edge of visibility, not walking along the road, but standing still within its pale embrace. The watchman feels it before he sees it fully. A pause, a slight wrongness in the rhythm of the approaching world. The fog has a habit of making things appear suddenly nearer than they are. But this shape does not advance. It simply waits. A darker smudge in the gray, as if testing the threshold from a distance. He adjusts the angle of the lantern, letting its light push a fraction farther. Fabric gleams faintly. A cloak damp with mist, edges heavy. The figure is cloaked hood to boot, the face a deeper pocket of shadow. One hand holds a bundle close to the chest, the other is hidden beneath the folds. The watchman listens. The figure's breath is audible, even over the muffled drip of water from the wall above. Shallow, quick. The sound of someone who has been either walking too long or waiting too long. Perhaps both. Eventually, the hood shifts, and the figure begins to move forward, each step cautious, as though the road might shift beneath their feet. They emerge into the harsher honesty of the lantern's glow in stages: cloak, shoulders, jawline, eyes still obscured by shadow. Papers are produced from within the cloak, edges slightly curled by damp. The seal is correct, the endorsements clear. Town of origin, purpose of travel, duration of stay, all the required words lined up in expected order. The ink has bled a little along the fibers of the page, but not enough to drown meaning. What is more interesting to the watchman is the hand that holds them out. It trembles, not wildly, not in theatrical fear, but with a fine, persistent vibration, as though burdened by something heavier than parchment. The fingertips are reddened by cold, the nails short and clean. This is not the hand of a laborer, nor of a man used to a sword. It is a hand that has held quills, perhaps, or keys. The watchman's gaze lifts briefly to the shadow beneath the hood. Within it, the pale ovals of eyes catch the lantern's light and then flick away. Not in guilt, but in the quick darting calculation of someone tallying exits, outcomes, possibilities. There is a tension in the jaw, in the set of the mouth, that speaks of words unsaid pressing against clenched teeth. He could ask questions. Where exactly have you come from? Why travel at this hour through fog? Why do your hands shake so? Instead, he measures the tremor, the way one might weigh a coin on a fingertip. The orders pinned in the gatehouse behind him say nothing about hands that shake. They speak of names, affiliations, banners, certain symbols carved into the shafts of spears or embroidered into linings. They warn of factions, of seditious pamphlets, of rumors carried folded into hats. They do not warn of this. The quiet panic of a soul standing alone in a misty archway, holding correctness like a shield. The watchman reads the paper again, not for its words, but for the impressions of the hand that wrote them. The strokes are measured, the ink consistent, no hesitation. Whoever penned this did so in a place of relative calm. The man before him is not calm. The weight in his chest, not the official one, not the one that dutifully notes seals and signatures, but the other, the unrecorded balance, tilts. He hands the paper back with the smallest of nods. The figure's shoulders drop by a fraction, as if a strap has been loosened. The trembling in the hand recedes to the edge of perception. As the man steps under the arch, the bundle at his chest shifts, and from beneath the cloak comes the faint metallic clink of something. Keys or tools, perhaps, or a small, tightly packed secret trying to speak through sound. The watchman says nothing. He writes a name in his ledger, as neat and upright as all the others. The record will show the time, the place, the man's origin. It will not know that, for a heartbeat, the gate considered refusing him, and then did not. On another evening, brighter but colder, a different group materializes from the fog, like a cluster of embers in a slow-burning fire. Their approach announces itself before their shapes do. Laughter too loud for the hour, the slap of boots on wet stone, a snatch of song cut off mid-word, replaced by the rough elbowing sound of young men jostling each other for space. The fog curls around them but does not hide them. They push through it as if through cobwebs, heads up, shoulders broad with borrowed bravado. They are dressed in variations of the same attempt at sharpness, coats a little too fine for their obvious age, hats tilted at angles meant to signal confidence, belts tightened over tunics that have not known hard weather. Their cheeks flush red in the lantern light, not from drink, though that will come later inside the city, but from the intoxication of being more than one, of moving as a pack. They are exactly the sort of sons that records love. Future merchants, minor officials, petty officers. Their families' names would line up neatly with other respectable names in the city's rolls. They are exactly the sort of trouble that records do not always catch. They crowd the narrow space before the gate, talking over one another, the fog swirling as their arms carve gestures through it. One of them, a tall boy with a jaw that has not decided whether it wishes to be a man's or remain soft, steps forward with their papers. His smile is quick, practiced, a weapon honed on indulgent parents and patient masters. The papers are, predictably, impeccable. Seals clear, endorsements from households whose windows have looked out over the city for generations. They are permitted to attend some gathering, some lesson, some official assembly that will eventually become a story they tell with embellishment. But the Watchman's attention is not on the ink. It is on the unevenness in their collective noise. Beneath the bluster, there is a sharper note, a dare, perhaps, or the brittle edge of aggression searching for a surface to strike. One boy glances too long at the lantern, then at the watchman's hand on the bar, measuring strength. Another nudges his companion toward the gate as if testing boundaries, not of stone, but of patience. They look like men who have not yet learned what it is to be truly refused. The gate, for them, is an expectation, not a question. He could let them pour through unchecked, a careless wave of ink and approval. Their names would carry them further than any scrutiny he could offer. Yet in the narrow space beneath the arch, their energy feels like a small storm brewing in a bottle. So he chooses another method. He gives them back their papers with no smile and does not move aside. The pause is almost comical. The fog seems to lean in, interested. They blink, thrown off rhythm. The tall boy's mouth opens, then closes. They stand there, a cluster of faces, suddenly confronted not with anger or prohibition, but with something worse for their kind of courage: stillness. The watchman does not raise his voice. He does not scold, does not lecture. He simply looks at them one by one in the light of the lantern, allowing the silence to do what noise never can. The laughter drains slowly from their expressions, leaving something younger, more exposed behind. Boots shuffle. Hands drop from the casual slouch at their belts. Time stretches, thin and fragile. In the official rhythm of gatekeeping, this delay is nothing, perhaps a minute added to the column of admitted. But within that minute, something shifts. They are forced, however briefly, to recognize that entry is not a right granted by their surnames alone, but a crossing observed by eyes that have watched better, worse, and more desperate men pass. When he finally steps aside, it is not a capitulation. It is a measured act. They file under the arch less loudly than they arrived. Their voices resume on the other side, muffled by the stone. But the pitch has changed. A fraction lower, as if tempered by an awareness that the world will not always part for them without question. The ledger receives their names as it has all others. The story of that pause, that small discomfort, remains floating somewhere in the fog, unscribed. Weeks pass like this, each evening wrapped in its own variation of damp and dimness. The fog becomes both veil and companion, hiding and revealing, reflecting the uncertainty that has begun to coil itself around the city's edges. Rumors travel faster than carts, of skirmishes rekindled in distant fields, of negotiations faltering, of treaties that were once spoken of as unbreakable now whispered about as perhaps too fragile for the weight of human impatience. The watchman hears them all. Soldiers talk when they are bored. Traders talk when they are afraid. Pilgrims talk because they cannot help making sense of the world in words. The gate hears everything first. He does not let the rumors into his hands. His hands stick to papers, to seals, to the tangible markers his duty demands. But his mind, whether he wants it to or not, begins to draw thin lines between the stories and the faces. That man whose hands shook, what message did he carry? Those boys with their easy arrogance, who might they be in a year if the city's peace cracks? The woman with the hidden child, what future did she seek to slip under the wall? As the fog thickens with the approach of winter, he finds himself listening, not only to what people say as they pass, but to the weight of what they do not. One night the fog does not merely gather, it sits like a patient animal against the gate. The lantern's light goes out only a few paces into it, swallowed by a gray so dense that the road is reduced to sound and habit. The watchman can no longer trust his eye to tell him who approaches from afar. He hears instead the crunch of gravel, the squelch of mud, the rhythm of steps that are neither hurried nor hesitant, but measured, as if counting. From within the blankness, a small group emerges all at once, as though the fog had grown them and decided to present its harvest. There are 5 of them, cloaks pulled tight, hoods low, no banners, no visible insignia. Their clothes are practical, well-mended, unremarkable, neither poor enough to provoke pity nor rich enough to invite deference. They could be anyone, and that is what makes them peculiar. They pause just before the lantern's full reach, obeying some unspoken etiquette of thresholds. The watchman feels their collective presence like a knot in the air. Papers are offered. They are in order, written in a careful, anonymous hand, citing business with a guild inside the city that certainly exists, though he cannot recall its members' faces. The names on the pages are ordinary: Johann, Peter, Lucas, soundless stones that could sink unnoticed in the river of daily traffic. Yet there is a stillness about them that does not suit their invented plainness. Their eyes, those he can see beneath the shadows of their hoods, are calm, but not empty. They hold a kind of weary focus, as if each man has already rehearsed a dozen outcomes and accepted all of them. There is no tremor in their hands, no nervous shifting. Even their breath seems disciplined. They are, in every outward way, unremarkable travelers, and yet they feel like a sentence that has been edited too cleanly. The watchman stands with the weight of the bar resting lightly against his hand. Behind him, the city is a layered silence, the kind that comes when people sense change in the air and do not yet know how to name it. Before him, 5 lives arrange themselves into the shape of an answer not entirely supported by the question. If he refuses them, they will turn away and walk into a fog that could swallow them without witness. If he admits them, they will vanish into the city's narrow veins, carrying with them whatever decision they have already made about their purpose. The orders on his wall would suggest caution. They would speak of increased vigilance, of unknown groups moving under cover of peace. The mathematics of fear always leans toward denial, but he is standing not with paper in his hand, but with the remembered weight of dozens of evenings, of other almosts, of other choices whose consequences he has never seen, though he feels them sometimes in the way the city sleeps. He looks at them, one by one, letting the fog and the lantern and the stone press their witness into the moment. No words come. None are needed. After a time that would look like nothing on a clock, he lifts the bar. The gate does not creak. It yields. They pass beneath the arch in single file, boots whispering against the worn dip in the stone. As they move through the circle of light, he notes small details. The way one man's jaw flexes once, imperceptibly. The way another's eyes flick upward to the curve of the arch as though memorizing it. The way the last in line lingers half a heartbeat, as if tempted to look back and then deciding against it. The fog closes around them on the city side, folding them into its pale embrace. He writes their names in his ledger. Ink scratches over paper, leaving thin black lines that dry quickly in the chill air. Later, when he sits briefly in the quiet of the gatehouse, the lantern low and the fog pressing softly against the door, like a thought he has not yet fully had, he hears distant sounds from within the city. Nothing remarkable, just life. A dog barking, a window shuttered against the cold, a pot being set down too hard on a hearth. He cannot know if the 5 men have anything to do with any of it. He cannot know if their passing will ripple outward in ways he will one day recognize, or if they will dissolve into anonymity, their purpose lost, their impact absorbed. What he does know is the feeling that lingers in his chest, as precise as the weight of the bar in his hand had been, the sense of having made a move on a board whose full pattern he is never allowed to see. Another night settles over the walls. The gate sleeps in its frame, solid and unquestioning. The fog thickens, soft and relentless, erasing the world beyond the lantern's last breath. In the ledger, the day will stand as a neat column of arrivals and departures, but in the space between each line, the unrecorded tremor of his choices continues to hum, half-remembered, like a song the city does not know it is hearing. The letter arrives, folded into itself like a small, clenched fist. It comes with the rain, as many unwelcome things do. Outside the gatehouse, the sky has given up on any gesture of light. Water falls in straight, unadorned lines, turning the road into a slow-moving sheet of mud. The watchman has drawn his cloak close, the hood low over his brow, the lantern's radiance huddled in a tight circle that looks almost embarrassed to be seen in so much gray. The messenger is wet through when he appears, horse steaming faintly in the cold air, cloak plastered to his shoulders. He does not dismount fully, only swings one leg down long enough to thrust the sealed paper toward the watchman as if shaking off an irritation. The wax, dark red and still faintly pliable, bears the sharp impression of the council's sigil. The messenger's breath clouds in twin bursts from nostrils and mouth. His eyes slide past the watchman without interest, already seeking the next task, the next gate, the next hand to burden. "There are new instructions," he says, but his tone suggests these are not for him to understand. The rain has already begun to bead on the surface of the letter, tiny, clear domes clinging to authority. The watchman takes it with the care one might give to a small, poisonous animal. He does not open it immediately. There is a ritual to such things. It must be carried inside, into the gatehouse's dim shelter, laid on the rough wooden table that has seen decades of elbows and decisions and crumbs. Only then, with the door closed behind him and the sound of rain now muffled to a steady enclosing hiss, does he break the seal. The wax yields with a soft, reluctant snap. The paper crackles when he unfolds it, fibers protesting their new arrangement. Ink marches down the page in precise strokes, the handwriting a trained hand's. No flourishes, no hesitations, the confident lines of someone whose words always move other people's bodies. He reads. There are names, some familiar, some not. There are emblems described in careful detail, a certain pattern on a ring, a design stitched into the inside of a cloak, a symbol sometimes scratched onto the handles of knives. There are instructions for such marks. If seen, if suspected, if even rumored, extra scrutiny, quiet refusal, detention if warranted. There are phrases like increased vigilance, known agitators, undesirable elements. There is, too, the more insidious category, general suspicion, travelers from certain regions, bearers of certain professions, those whose stated business is deemed insufficiently clear. The list expands the gate from a simple physical barrier into a sieve for ideas and fears that have never stood in this archway in person. He reaches the end. The rain's voice thickens outside, coating the city and the land alike in the same wet insistence. At the bottom of the page, beneath the final curving stroke of the scribe's signature, the wax seal repeats itself in miniature, as if to remind the reader that the circle closes here. Obedience is assumed, not requested. The watchman reads it again, more slowly. This time the words seem heavier, not because they have changed, but because now they sit beside his earlier days, like stones added quietly to a basket he had not realized he was carrying. He thinks of the man whose hand trembled beneath the hood, of the woman with the hidden child, of the 5 who passed like a sentence written in invisible ink. He wonders, not for the first time, how many of them would now fit neatly into one or more of these categories: suspicious origin, unclear business, possible affiliation. The candle on the table gutters in a damp draught. Wax pools at its base, softening its own form. He presses a thumb into it absently, leaving a shallow print. Flesh imprinting itself on wax, wax hardening around the indentation, a small reversal of the seal that brought him these words. He is not a counselor, not a judge, not a priest. His world, officially, is narrower. A strip of road, an arch of stone, a ledger whose pages turn at the pace of days. Yet here, in this cramped room smelling of wet wool and smoke, the long fingers of the city's politics have wrapped themselves around his own. The orders do not ask what he has seen. They do not inquire whether the rumors that birthed these directives are true. They do not offer explanation. They do not imagine that the man who guards the gate has thoughts about any of it at all. They imagine only his hand, obedient on the bar. He refolds the paper with the care due to its weight, smoothing the creases until they lie neat and sharp. Then he pins it to the wall beside older notices. Some half-curled, their ink faded, others more recent, their commands already outdated by events that moved faster than doctrine. This new page settles among them like a fresh layer of bark on a scarred tree. The next day, the road does not change its appearance to mark that anything is different. Mud is still mud. Wheels still sink with the same stubborn reluctance. Winter continues its slow, grinding approach, the air tasting more of iron with each breath. Yet something in the gate's posture has shifted. It begins with small frictions. A journeyman carpenter arrives from a town now circled in ink on the council's map. His papers are in order, his tools practical and worn. The watchman finds himself reading the place of origin twice, feeling the brush of the directive against his duty like 2 wires nearly touching. In theory, he should ask further questions. The letter on the wall suggests it would be prudent. He asks instead about the condition of the roads, the way any gatekeeper might when thinking of cart traffic and supply routes. The man grumbles about ruts and fallen branches, about a broken axle he passed along the way. Nothing in his tone sings of sedition or zeal. Fatigue is the only fervor there. The watchman lets him pass. He writes the name and town into the ledger, the ink a little darker where his hand presses harder. Another day, a small caravan of traders arrives, their wagons bearing woven goods from a region now considered potentially unstable. The guards at their side are more nervous than threatening. They watch the watchman as if worried he might seize their entire livelihood for reasons they do not fully understand. The orders on the wall would have him inspect their cargo more thoroughly, perhaps even detain them until some higher authority can be troubled to care. He sees instead the calloused fingers that grip the reins, the way one woman keeps glancing at the sky, calculating weather more than politics, the careful way they handle the bundles, each one representing nights spent on cold ground, small bargains struck with strangers, narrow escapes from broken wheels and bad food. He asks the necessary questions. He checks seals. He looks into wagons. He finds nothing more dangerous than the possibility that some steward inside the city will cheat them on price. He raises the bar and gestures them through. As they pass, one of the traders mutters a blessing under his breath, not quite daring to make eye contact. In the gatehouse that evening, he looks at the letter again. The ink has not faded. The seal is still unbroken on the fragment he saved after cracking it. Yet, with each decision, each small act of choosing where to place weight on the scale, the absoluteness of the words seems to fray. He obeys them sometimes. A man arrives with a ring bearing a symbol that matches one described in unnerving detail. The man's smile is too polished, his answers too practiced, his laughter too loud and quick, spilling from him like water from a cracked jug. The watchman feels no tremor of pity, no tug of ambiguity. Here, caution aligns neatly with instinct. He delays the man under the arch with bland questions until a patrol can be summoned. The officers who come speak the language of orders fluently. They see the ring, hear the name, and their expressions arrange themselves into the sharp, clean lines of decision. They take the man away. The watchman does not see him again. In such moments, he is a functioning cog. The system's teeth mesh cleanly. The machinery moves without grind. But most of the people who come to the gate are not rings or banners or neat embodiments of decree. They are smudges and half-truths and frightened eyes and empty hands. They are stories that do not fit comfortably into categories written by men who do not stand in doorways. The watchman feels himself slowly becoming two people. There is the man whose hand signs the bottom of each day's column, confirming that he has carried out his duties as prescribed. This man is precise, steady, unremarkable. He notices whether ink is running low, whether the ledger will need replacing by spring. He ensures that the bar is not splintering, that the hinges have their oil. Then there is the other, the one whose gaze lingers half a heartbeat longer on certain faces, who hears the chords of rumor and command and lived reality clashing in minor, unresolved harmonies. This one counts not only bodies, but hesitations, not only seals, but silences. He patrols not just the physical length of the wall, but the thin strip of conscience stretched along it. They occupy the same body, but they do not always look at the same thing. One night, as rain turns to sleet and the lantern's flame struggles against each gust, a lone figure approaches carrying nothing but a small leather-bound case. The man's cloak is soaked, his hat brim sagging under the weight of half-frozen water. He looks neither particularly poor nor particularly dangerous. He could be a clerk, a minor scholar, an accountant whose life has been spent in the company of columns and tidy sums. His papers list him as a copyist hired by a minor noble household within the city. The seal is unfamiliar, but appears genuine. The watchman feels the directive's chill finger brush the back of his neck. Certain professions related to letters and information are to be regarded warily. Words can be weapons. Ink can draw more blood than blades. He hands the document back. "What do you copy?" he asks, the question bare of accusation. The man seems startled, as if unaccustomed to anyone caring. He glances down at his case, then up again. "Whatever I am given," he says with a small, tired shrug. "Contracts, family records, sometimes old letters no one wants to lose. It is a simple answer. Perhaps too simple, perhaps perfectly true." The watchman looks at the case. It is worn at the corners, the leather polished by years of being moved from desk to shelf to hand. The lock is small and functional, not ornate. A working object, not a treasure. In his mind, he imagines the paper inside. Names inked carefully in lines, debts made permanent, promises given a more durable body. People who will never stand at this gate trusting their future to the legibility of those strokes. The orders on the wall only see potential danger, information moving along channels unapproved, ideas smuggled in under the cover of employment. The man before him seems to see only the next page, the next task, the next coin earned. He steps aside. The copyist passes under the arch, shoulders curling instinctively as he moves beneath the heavy stone, as if protecting the small case from some imagined falling. The watchman watches him go until the sleet eats his outline and the lantern's light can no longer hold him. Inside, at the table, the letter stares with unblinking ink. There are no instructions written for men whose work preserves lives that history will later forget. There are no clauses covering women who carry children under shawls, or students whose pockets hold more hunger than sedition, or bakers who add an extra roll to the oven simply because it feels wrong not to. Sometimes it seems to the watchman that the orders do not know what a person is. They know only categories of usefulness or threat. Days fold themselves over days. The paper on the wall yellows infinitesimally, its edges curling as if trying to turn away. Additional notes join it, smaller slips reminding of curfews, of shortages, of new alliances and broken ones. The once blank timber beneath grows hidden under a patchwork of directives, each pin driven into the wood like a nail into flesh that has forgotten it can feel. And still, the gate opens and closes. There are mornings when he follows the orders more strictly, weary of the strain of balancing them against his own private hesitation. He turns away a group of traveling performers when their answers dance too easily around specifics. He makes a tinker wait in the cold while he examines each compartment of his kit, searching for anything that might match a description he half remembers. He feels the stiffness in his own voice, the distance in his own eyes, as if he has stepped into a portrait of himself painted by someone else. On those days, the ledger looks cleaner. The column of refused entries stands like a thin, dark fence beside the thicker, looser forest of admissions. The world appears more controlled, more decisive. Yet when he lies on his narrow cot in the small room above the gatehouse, listening to the wind comb its fingers through the tower's stones, it is not the faces of the men he turned away in obedience that linger. It is the moment, long before, when he first pressed his thumb into warm wax and realized it could take his shape. He turns onto his side, the blanket rough against his cheek, the smell of damp and smoke filling his nostrils. Sleep comes, but not quickly. In the space between waking and dreaming, he sometimes imagines another kind of ledger, not one written in ink, but in the subtle geometry of lives inside the city. Paths crossing that would not have crossed if he had lowered the bar instead of raising it. Children born because a mother found refuge. Arguments avoided because a certain angry young man was delayed just long enough to cool. A pair of hands that never learned to hold a weapon because their owner had his tools returned instead of confiscated. No one will ever keep that book. No one will ever pin its pages to a wall. In the morning, he will rise again, put on the same cloak, check the same hinges, touch the same cool iron ring of the gatehouse door. He will glance at the orders, feel their silent pressure, and walk back under the arch. To the council, he is a line in a report. Gates secure, procedures followed, vigilance maintained. To the gate, he is the warmth in the hand that lifts or lowers its weight. And to himself, though he seldom dares to phrase it so plainly, he is a man balancing wax and wood and breath and fear in a world that insists everything can be neatly sealed and stamped. Outside, the rain gives way to a thin metallic dawn, and the city once more begins the slow work of remembering that it is alive. There are days when the city feels heavy with words, and then there are days when it feels heavy with what has not yet been said. The weeks after the letter from the council belong to the latter. Conversations shorten. People who once paused to exchange a few scraps of news at the gate now keep their mouths tucked tight, as if language itself might be requisitioned and used against them. Even the traders, usually generous with complaints about taxes and roads, seem to weigh each sentence before letting it cross their teeth. The watchman notices the change the way a man who lives near water notices when the current has shifted. The surface looks the same: carts, feet, hooves, the same small tragedies of broken axles and lost buttons, but beneath, something runs faster and colder. Officially, the truce still holds. The proclamations pinned in the main squares speak of peace maintained, of negotiations ongoing, of disputes being resolved in chambers rather than fields. Yet the men who wear swords have begun to polish them with a different kind of care, not for show, but for readiness. Armor hangs closer to bedsides. Horses are kept a little nearer to the stables at night. Rumor is a second wind that moves through the city, invisible but felt. It whistles between shutters, slips under doors, gathers in taverns where voices drop just before naming certain people or places. The watchman receives it in fragments, carried on the breath of those who pass through his arch. A skirmish that was not supposed to happen, a messenger who did not return, a shipment of grain delayed by more than bad weather. He says little. His work has always been to stand where stone opens and closes, not to interpret the storms that blow on either side. Yet he cannot help noticing that more and more of the travelers who arrive at his gate are moving not towards something, but away from it. They come in small clusters. A family with too few belongings for a planned journey, a pair of craftsmen who speak too quickly when asked why they have left their workshop behind, a woman whose wedding ring leaves a pale circle on her finger now naked of metal. Their stories are tidy enough to pass inspection. Their eyes tell other, messier tales. He lets them in one by one, their names lining up neatly in his ledger like stitches along a wound nobody has officially acknowledged. Inside the gatehouse, the paper from the council continues to yellow by degrees, its words no less sharp for having been read so often. It hangs among its siblings of decree and caution, a small choir of written voices repeating the same command in variations. Be suspicious, be selective, be sure. There is an irony he does not voice. Those who write of certainty are never the ones who stand where certainty thins. Winter arrives with a hardness that leaves no room for ambiguity. The air loses its softness. Each breath feels like glass pressed against the back of the throat. The fog that once sat like a thinking animal at the gate now refines itself into a more ruthless clarity. Some nights, the sky is clear and brutally honest, stars pricked into sharp focus above the walls. Other nights, it is as if the world beyond the lantern has been erased entirely, leaving only a blank, dark expectation. On one such night, snow threatens, but does not yet fall. The air has that particular stillness that comes before it commits, a holding of breath on a scale too large for lungs. The watchman stands under the arch, his cloak drawn tight, the hood shadowing his brow. The lantern hangs at his shoulder, its light a small, persistent circle of defiance in the great surrounding dark. The road stretches away, a smear of paler dirt barely discernible against the fields. He has already turned away one traveler whose story unraveled too quickly, a man whose tongue could not keep pace with his own invented details. He has admitted a midwife called to a birth inside the city, her hands red from the cold, even through her gloves. He has delayed a courier long enough to verify that the wax on his packet matches the description of new seals agreed upon in distant rooms. The routine, honed over years, moves through him like a second skeleton. Sometime past midnight, the air changes. It is nothing as dramatic as a sudden wind or a volley of distant sound. It is instead a subtle tightening, like the way a room feels when someone has entered behind you and you have not yet turned to see who it is. The world beyond the lantern's reach seems to lean in. The watchman senses it before his ears or eyes give him anything concrete. He straightens a fraction, not enough to be visible to anyone watching, but enough that he feels his spine reassert itself as the city's vertical line. Then he hears it. Footsteps. Not the uneven pattern of a single drunk stumbling home late, not the scattered approach of a loosely organized group. These steps are measured, deliberate, keeping a kind of unspoken cadence. They do not hurry, but they do not wander either. Stone receives their rhythm, sending it ahead like a message. Out of the darkness, shapes emerge, not grown from fog this time, but carved from shadow. The lantern catches the edges of cloaks, the dull gleam of worn leather, the faint outline of faces lined more by weather than by age. There are perhaps a dozen men, no more. They wear no visible uniform, no shared color, no banner, yet their togetherness does not require fabric to explain itself. They stop a respectful distance from the arch, as if aware that some invisible line is drawn beneath it. For a moment, the only sounds are their collective breathing and the soft hiss of the lantern's wick. The watchman lets the silence sit. He has learned that what comes out of quiet can be more revealing than what is shouted over noise. Eventually, one of the men steps forward. He looks neither particularly tall nor particularly imposing. His beard is threaded with gray, his hair cropped short for practicality rather than fashion. His cloak, like the others, is travel-stained, the hem stiff with dried mud. His hands, visible at the edges of the fabric, are chapped, the knuckles roughened by work. He holds out a paper. "We are expected," he says. The words are simple, spoken without urgency or challenge. If there is a world of compressed meaning behind them, it remains folded for now. The watchman takes the paper. The seal is one he recognizes, not the council's, but belonging to a commander in the city's garrison, a man whose name has begun to appear more frequently in the whispered lists of those whose opinions matter. The script is neat, the language formally correct. Authorization is granted for a group of men to enter the city under cover of darkness, to make use of certain quarters near the barracks, to be given access to specified persons and locations. Nowhere does the letter say why. He reads it twice, then lets the parchment rest lightly between his fingers. Behind the leader, the other men stand in a loose formation that is not quite military, but not entirely civilian either. Their faces bear the peculiar hollowness of those who have been living too long on the threshold between decisions. Not yet soldiers, not yet fugitives, not yet anything that can be named clearly enough to fix onto them. He searches them for the signs he has been taught to look for. Fanaticism in the eyes, restless hands too eager to find the hilts of hidden blades, the brittle confidence of men about to do something they do not fully comprehend. He finds none. Instead, he finds fatigue, the deep, settled kind that does not manifest as slouching shoulders or drooping heads, but as a certain emptiness in the gaze, a space where fear has burned itself down to embers and left behind only a steady, low fire of purpose. These are not boys playing at danger. These are men who have already met it, somewhere out in the dark where walls are only stories, and have come back changed into something quieter and more impenetrable. The letter in his hand pulls in one direction. The city behind him pulls in another. Neither can be seen, both can be felt. He glances up at the wall above the gate. From this angle, the battlements are only a jagged line against the starless sky. Somewhere up there, a sentry walks his route, the iron of his spear kissing stone at intervals. Somewhere else, perhaps, a counselor sleeps, secure in the knowledge that policies have been written and disseminated. Somewhere, a commander waits, counting on this group's arrival as one more piece in a strategy drawn on maps and tables. Down here, in the arch, the only map that matters is the worn dip of stone beneath the watchman's feet and the half-circle of lamplight that contains 12 lives. He thinks of the phrase from the council's letter, increased vigilance. It is a useful phrase, elastic enough to mean anything. It could be used to justify lowering the bar more often, tightening the sieve, trapping more bodies in the name of keeping danger out. Or it could be turned inward, a sharper attention on the subtle ways power extends its reach into ordinary hands. Perhaps, he thinks, what he owes the city now is not obedience, but accuracy. He looks again at the men. Their cloaks bear the marks of long roads. Their boots are cracked at the edges, the soles darkened by many different kinds of soil. One has a strip of cloth wrapped around his left hand, stained with something that might be old blood or simply the dirt of 100 touched surfaces. Another has a line of white along his jaw, the scar of a wound that could have killed him if it had been a finger's width higher. None of this appears in the letter, nor do the small details that tug at him more strongly. The way one man keeps glancing sideways at his companion, as if checking that he is truly still there. The way another's eyes touch the lantern briefly, not in fear of being seen, but in gratitude for the simple presence of light. He knows with a certainty that is neither logical nor easily defended that whatever purpose has called them here will not be recorded in words like glory or honor. It will live instead in the quiet spaces after something has happened, in the way shoulders are held, in the number of names no longer called at roll. If he refuses them, perhaps someone else will open another gate elsewhere, or perhaps they will vanish into the countryside like smoke, their intentions diffused, their usefulness undone. If he admits them, perhaps they will become part of a chain of events that ends with trumpets and proclamations and blood soaking into fields whose names will be memorized by school children who have never walked them. He does not know which outcome serves the city best. The city itself does not know. It is too large, too divided, too full of competing hearts. He knows only this: the gate exists so that those inside do not have to face the dark directly. Slowly, he runs his thumb along the edge of the authorization, feeling the slightly rough texture where ink has thickened. Then he folds the paper once, neatly, and tucks it into his belt. His hand returns to the bar. The wood is cold under his palm, but familiar, like the shoulder of an old friend. The iron brackets groan softly as he tests the weight, more habit than necessity. The men watch him, faces still, eyes clear. None of them moves forward. None of them steps back. He breathes in. The city behind him smells of banked fires and stale breath, and the faint, lingering sweetness of old incense trapped in stone. The night before him smells of damp earth, old leaves, unfallen snow. He cannot measure which is more dangerous. With a controlled motion, he lifts the bar. The sound is almost gentle. No harsh scrape or resistance, just the quiet shift of a burden being temporarily removed from its rest. The gate's leaf moves under his hand, opening enough to create a passage wide enough for a man, not an army. "Go," he says, though the word is merely habit. They would have gone whether he spoke it or not. They pass through in single file, each man's boots finding the same shallow depression in the stone. As they enter the lantern circle, their faces are briefly carved in light. He sees, up close, the fine lines of tension around their mouths, the way their eyes flick once to his, acknowledging his role without gratitude or resentment, simply as part of the landscape they must move through. The last man in the line hesitates a moment under the arch. It is not a visible stumble, just a subtle slowing, the way a person lingers at the edge of a room they are not sure they will leave again. His gaze lifts, tracing the curve of the gate above, the dark belly of the wall cradling them all. Then, without looking back, he steps forward and is absorbed into the city's shadows. The watchman closes the gate. This time, the wood seems to settle with a sound that he feels in his bones more than hears. The bar drops into place, its weight once again a line drawn between here and there. From beyond the wall, faintly, the city exhales, a dog barking, a distant door shut with unnecessary force, a fragment of laughter that does not know what has just crossed its threshold. He stands with his palm still resting on the bar, as if he might feel, through the grain of the wood, some echo of their passing. There is nothing. Wood is indifferent. Stone is impartial. Only flesh remembers in ways that ache. In the gatehouse, under the wavering candle flame, he opens his ledger to the page for this night. The column waiting for entries stretches from top to bottom in a clean, inviting line. He dips his pen, shakes off the excess ink, and writes. He does not list them as a unit. He writes each name individually, giving each its own line, its own place on the paper. The letters march down the page, each one a small black assertion of existence. He notes the time as best he can estimate it. Under reason for entry, he leaves the space blank. Truthfully, he thinks, he does not know. When he sets the pen aside, the candle has burned low, the pool of wax large and irregular around its base. He stares at the names for a moment longer, then closes the ledger with a soft thud, as if putting away a fragile object that does not belong to him. Outside, the sky has not yet decided whether it will snow. Inside, the weight of his choice settles into him with the quiet persistence of cold seeping through stone. There will be no trumpet to mark what he has done tonight, no bell rung, no proclamation posted at dawn. The council's records will show, at most, that a certain group arrived at a certain hour, authorized by a certain seal. The arch itself will keep no memory. But in the small, unlit space behind his ribs, the sound of the bar lifting and lowering will echo for a long time, like a question asked in a church after everyone else has gone home. Years do not announce themselves. They accumulate. They gather in the small, unnoticed places, in the deepening shine of stone beneath the arch, in the way the gatehouse door sticks a little more each spring, in the length of time it takes the watchman to climb the stairs to the wall and not have to stop halfway to catch his breath. The city changes around him in ways that feel, at first, like weather. A new roofline appears where an old one once sagged. A shop that used to sell candles now smells of roasted coffee and foreign spice. Children who once clung to their mother's skirts at the gate grow into apprentices who roll barrels and crates under his gaze, eyes already learning to calculate the value of everything that passes. Some changes are louder. There are winters when the bells ring too often, calling men to muster or to pray for things that will not be granted. There are summers when grain arrives late enough that flour is whispered about the way gold once was. A few years pass in which the streets seem haunted by bandaged limbs and faces turned away from light, as if the city has been grazed by something too large to fully enter its walls. Through it all, the gate remains the same shape. The watchman learns to read years not by calendars, but by the patterns of those who come and go. There are seasons of soldiers, seasons of students, seasons of merchants heavy with foreign goods. There are rare, blessed periods when the majority of those who pass beneath the arch are neither fleeing nor summoned, but simply moving along the modest currents of ordinary life. His own body, meanwhile, takes on the geography of his duty. A line etches itself permanently between his brows, forged by squinting into fog and sunlight. His shoulders develop a slight forward tilt, as if permanently braced for the weight of the bar. His hands grow a map of fine scars, splinters, pinpricks of ink, small burns from lantern maintenance, each healed over into faint white reminders. He does not think of himself as old until one morning, in that gray hour when night is loosening but the day has not yet taken firm hold. He tries to lift the bar and feels not the gate's weight, but his own. It is not that the wood has grown heavier. It is that his muscles answer more slowly, protesting with a dull, unfamiliar ache. The bar rises, as it has for years, but the motion leaves a small tremor in his arms that lingers after he sets it back. He rests for a moment with both hands on the bar, his forehead near the rough grain, feeling the cool seeping into his skin. The gate gives back nothing. It has taken his strength for so long without comment that it no longer knows how to return concern. After that morning, he begins to notice other signs. The lantern seems to have grown darker, though the oil is the same. He realizes it is his eyes that have thinned the world's edges. Steps that he once took without thought now require calculation. How to place his foot so that the uneven stone under the arch does not catch and send him stumbling. The cold that creeps into his bones in winter takes longer to leave in spring. He continues for a while, as if nothing has altered. Habit is its own kind of youth. As long as he follows the same motions, he can pretend that time has not pulled them thinner. But time is patient. It waits for neither consent nor acknowledgement. One morning, a younger man appears at the gatehouse door carrying a folded cloak over his arm and a carefully neutral expression on his face. He wears the city's colors in a modest way, not flaunting them, but letting them speak from the small badge at his shoulder. His hat is removed as he steps inside, revealing hair not yet touched by gray. The watchman recognizes him. Years ago. How many, he cannot say. The young man had passed through the gate as an apprentice, ink-stained fingers clutching a letter of admission to some school inside the city. The watchman remembers the awkwardness of his limbs, the way his eyes had darted everywhere at once, trying to take in walls, guards, and the possibility of a future more expansive than the village he had left. Now, those same eyes are steadier, though there is a shadow of discomfort in them as they glance at the pinned notices on the wall, the stacked ledgers, the familiar table. There is a letter, the younger man says softly, as if raising his voice might unsettle the dust in the air. From the council. He holds it out with both hands. The wax seal bears the same emblem the watchman has seen countless times before, but somehow the impression feels shallower now. He breaks it. The words inside are both expected and, in their formality, strangely gentle. There is mention of long service, of years faithfully given, of the need to ensure that those assigned to key posts are physically able to meet the demands required. There is a phrase about honorable discharge from duty, another about continuing to serve the city in other ways befitting your experience. Nowhere does the letter say, "You are old, you may rest." Yet the watchman hears it, clear as any bell. For a long moment, he says nothing. The younger man stands with the awkward stillness of someone who has been told to deliver news, and then simply remain. His fingers twitch slightly against the folded cloak, squeezing the fabric as if unsure what else to hold on to. The watchman's gaze drifts past him to the wall beyond, to the patchwork collage of directives, announcements, warnings. The paper from the council about increased vigilance is still there, its ink faded but legible. Around it, newer orders cluster, some superseding it, some echoing it in slightly altered language. Each has come bearing its own urgency, and yet here they all hang, equally yellowing, equally softened by time. He thinks of the bar under his hand that morning, of the tremor in his arms. He thinks of nights when the faces passing under the arch have blurred, not from fog, but from the fatigue pressing into the sockets of his eyes. He thinks of the ledger's endless columns, his own handwriting marching down the pages like a regiment that does not know how to break ranks and rest. He folds the letter quietly and sets it on the table. "When?" he asks. The younger man's shoulders relax almost imperceptibly at the question. Something about its simplicity gives him permission to breathe. "At the end of this week," he says, "they ask that you remain to help with the change." He almost says replacement, then thinks better of it. The watchman nods. He helps. He shows the younger man how the hinges sometimes need coaxing in cold weather, how the left leaf of the gate sticks more than the right when the wood swells after rain. He points out the particular stone just outside the arch that is more worn than it appears, the one that can catch a careless foot and send a man sprawling. He demonstrates how to angle the lantern so that its light reaches far enough down the road without blinding the eyes of those approaching. He does not, cannot, teach the other ledger, the one written in the small, silent calculations of his chest. He cannot pass on the exact feel of a trembling hand holding papers that say nothing about fear. He cannot describe the weight of a group of men whose names will be spoken in taverns as heroes or traitors, depending on whose mug is being lifted. He cannot convey how a city's breath feels on the back of the neck when something is about to happen and the orders have not yet caught up. Some knowledge cannot be pinned to a wall. On his last day, the weather is undecided. Gray hangs over the city, but does not yet commit to rain. The air has that thin metallic quality that makes sound travel further, and yet seem fainter. The watchman wakes before the bells, as he always has. body obeying the familiar pattern even as his mind whispers that, after today, there will be no more. He dresses with a care that feels almost ceremonial. The cloak that has been his shield for so many seasons sits more heavily on his shoulders now. Each buckle, each knot tied, is a small farewell. At the gate, he performs his tasks one more time. He runs his hands over the wood, checking for splinters. He tests the bar. He lifts the smaller door within the larger one, hearing the hinge's complaint and answering it with the right amount of pressure. He lights the lantern and watches its flame catch, wobble, and then settle into steady, modest life. Traffic begins. A woman selling early bread passes with baskets that steam faintly in the chill. A boy driving a stubborn donkey curses under his breath, the words old and well-worn. A courier trots through, cloak snapping, eyes already fixed on some destination beyond the next turn. The watchman checks papers, nods, lifts the bar, lowers it again. The rhythm runs through him one more time, down to the smallest muscle. Mid-morning, the younger man arrives to stand beside him. They work together, an old current and a new one flowing along the same channel. The younger's movements are still a little stiff, a little too deliberate, but there is a tension in his eyes, and that matters more than grace. As the sun makes a brief, pale attempt to push through the clouds, the flow of arrivals eases. There is a lull, a thin, quiet space in the day where nothing demands immediate action. The watchman looks at the road. It stretches away from him, the same smear of earth it has always been, lined with the same hedges, vanishing around the same bend. Yet today, it feels different. For the first time, he is not measuring it as territory to be monitored, but as a direction that does not necessarily circle back to the gate. Behind him, the city murmurs, the distant clatter of a dropped pot, a child's brief laughter, the soft call of someone greeting a neighbor. These sounds have been his backdrop for years, a constant low tide washing against the stone. He realizes, with a small start, that he has never really heard them from the other side for more than a few steps at a time. "Will you stay in the city?" the younger man asks carefully, as if stepping into a space that might not welcome him. The watchman considers the question. He thinks of rented rooms under low roofs, of streets that he has only ever walked a little way down before duty pulled him back. He thinks of markets he has glimpsed in fragments through open gates, of churches whose bells he knows by sound, but not by the way their interiors swallow it. "I do not know yet," he says. It is the most honest answer he has given anyone in years. When the moment comes, there is no ceremony. No delegation from the council arrives to shake his hand. No speech is made. The city, as it does every day, is too busy being itself to pause for the changing of a single man at a single gate. He unclasps the buckle of his cloak and folds it once, twice, laying it over his arm. The arch feels taller without its familiar weight on his shoulders. The younger man adjusts his own cloak, instinctively straightening, filling the small absence. They exchange a nod. Then, for the first time in a very long time, the watchman turns his back on the gate from the city side and walks toward it as any other traveler might. The stone beneath the arch greets the soles of his boots, the worn dip guiding his step as it has guided thousands before him. He feels the curve of the walls arching above, the breath of the outside air reaching in to meet the city's exhale. For an instant, standing exactly on the threshold, he is neither inside nor outside, not guard nor guest, simply a man suspended between two descriptions. He does not look back. The younger man watches him pass into the road's gray distance. To him, the departing figure is just that. A man in a plain cloak, head bowed slightly against the indecisive weather, walking with the measured pace of someone who has learned not to hurry decisions. In time, even this image will fade from the younger man's memory, replaced by the daily press of new faces, new instructions, new nights when the weight of the bar will make his own arms tremble. Years later, the gate will still stand. Different seals will hang on the gatehouse wall. Different rumors will ride in on the backs of different wars. Children not yet born will one day pass under the arch debating ideas that have not yet been written, carrying tokens from authorities not yet elected. They will step into the worn dip in the stone without thinking, their feet fitting perfectly into the shape carved there by all who came before. None of them will know that, long before their first breath, a quiet man spent a lifetime deciding, in silence, which footsteps were allowed to sink into that hollow and which were turned away to leave their own ghosts in the fields.